I can't keep paying my son's killer. That the money that the courts ordered me to pay was used to kill my son. I can't lay down. I'm not getting justice anywhere. Let's go back to where my whole story starts, right?
Okay.
I got married when I was like 25, 26, but, I'd been with my son's mom when she was, about 2 or 3 years earlier. And obviously the low point of my life.
Right. Okay.
I think at that kind of time in life, I was lost, didn't have direction, really drifting. I was bouncing from job to job. And her mom was a heavier partier. I was too, we both had real problems. And we ran down to North Carolina because she violated probation and she was going to get locked up.
What was she on probation for?
She got caught for distribution of marijuana and possession of cocaine.
Okay.
Right. So, you're at that age and she violated probation. She knew she was going to, she knew she tested dirty. And so it was like, let's go.
Right.
And, I'm like, I got nothing here either. I got problems too. So, we took off down to North Carolina and we were down there about 3 months. And then I come home from work one day and she says, "Oh, I'm pregnant." Well, that rocked my world, right? But it's the best thing for me because it snapped me out of where I was, right?
Right.
That reality
life just got serious.
Yeah, life got serious. And that realization you're going to be a dad, and it cleaned me up, right? So, that day I'm like, done with drugs, right? And then we were there a couple more weeks, and it was like, I can't have this kid down here. We need to go home. And, good for her. And now she's pregnant. They're not going to throw her in jail. So we made our way back with, no money in our pocket. I think we even borrowed money from her sister to get home. And got home, and 4 or 5 months into the pregnancy, I get her to start going to AA and drug counseling and showing up at the probation officer. And then it's good, right? The rest of the pregnancy goes well. And, Jake's born. And lucky for me, completely healthy, which was a really good thing for us. Because I worried about that every day, when she was pregnant. And Jake comes along, and we got this really tumultuous relationship, right? Now we still both drink. And so Jake gets to be about 2.5, and I realized that the drinking's a problem. All right. Before it was like, oh, well, just drugs was my problem. Right. Well, then I realized, drinking's my problem too. So he's about 2.5 years old. I come home from work. She goes off to work. She's working at Cracker Barrel. And I watch Kid at night. And I'm sitting there and I'm cracking beers and watching TV, doing nothing. And my kid walks over and he hears my can tink on the table. He comes over, picks up that empty can. He walks over to the garbage can, tosses it in, walks to the refrigerator, grabs me a fresh beer, brings it back over to me. Matt, one of the lowest parts of my life.
Right.
Because, it dawned on what I was doing, right? So I said, no, that's it. I'm done drinking. And, she continued to drink, and then it really started to become a problem for me. One drinking, one not, right? And so I gave up. I gave up the drinking. She was fighting it tooth and nail, and finally one day, I had a bad situation where she come home about 3:00 in the morning, just drunk as a skunk. I mean, just hammered. I got to get up, go to work at 5 a.m. And I got this 2.5-year-old kid upstairs, and I'm, I go off to work. I'm worried about him because I'm like, she's not getting up. I go to work about three hours in I'm trying to call home, make sure she's up, calling home. No one's answering. No one answered. And I lived about 15 minutes away. So I end up, first break comes, hop in the vehicle. I run home. Come home, she passed out. Kid's up, I go to check on the kid. It's just, we have these stairs and he's just starting to climb over a baby gate and come down. He's got the messy diaper and everything. I'm angry. I'm furious, So I get the kid, change him, bring him downstairs, set him on a couch, grab a glass of water, throw it on her, wake her up, and I'm basically like, we're done. We're done. I'm getting out of here, going to take the kid. Well, that got her clean. She smoked weed. I could deal with the weed, right?
Yeah.
And that got her clean for about 10 years,
Oh, okay.
10.
But you were
10 to
gone
12.
or just telling her you're leaving?
Oh,
She straightened up,
yeah.
you stayed?
She straightened up, and I stayed.
Okay.
Second biggest mistake of my life, and
Right.
we'll get to that later. If I'd left then, it would have saved me a lot of aggravation, and things probably be a much different place today where we're at. So from that point, and then now we're older, right? Jake's a teenager, whatever, and I start drinking a little again. She starts drinking. Well, hers goes super heavy, right? And then marriage I knew was really kind of winding down,
Right.
and that's really kind of the basis of it, But Jake overall had a good life. He was, he had a great childhood, lots of friends, and I would say his mother was never the caring, nurturing mom, like, don't wake her up, right? I don't care if you are sick. So the kid would come to me, if Dad, I don't feel good, right? I get up in the middle of the night, take care of him. So I had a really close bond with him. I was real tight. I didn't have a good relationship with my parents, and I always wanted a good one with my son.
Mm-hmm.
That was critical for me to have that. But at the same time, I traveled a lot. At this point in time, and I'm in sales, and I did territory sales, and I'm a director of sales, and I'm a VP of sales, and I'm progressing, but I'm gone 100, 125 nights a year, and that's tough on any family, any marriage, right? But I was always able to be a coach. I built my schedule around baseball games and football games and soccer games, and and that helped build that bond that I had with Jake, and that really, those times that we shared really kind of kept us close. And I always felt like he was my reason for living. I wouldn't have accomplished and did the things that I did from a professional side of my life had he not come around, right? I would have been like my buddies. I would have been dead,
Right.
or in and out of jail, because that's where all my childhood friends were going at the time. And it turned my world around, changed it, and
So he's 16, 17.
Yeah, so he's 16, 17. Jake starts having his own kind of issues, right? There's drinking, there's weed, then there's Xanax, and he addictive type personality, right? And always trying to work with him on, trying to help him get clean, trying to help get him on the right path. And Jake would be great. 6 months, no problem. Then all of a sudden it's coming, right? He's going to crash a car. He's going to get arrested by cops for, selling weed or something. So it was a roller coaster ride. And, that continued through high school. And, then by the time he's 17, 18, mother and I are on the rocks. We're going different directions. My wife, CJ, when we met and we talked about this, sometimes in life you both start here and you start working your way, and then you get just be 1 degree off, and 20 years later you're 20 degrees off, right? You're sailing in a different direction.
Right.
And that's what happened with us. We just weren't going in the same place. I filed for divorce, and I think that's another part where my life really takes a wrong turn, right? And it starts with picking a lawyer. one thing I figured out: read the reviews.
Right.
Someone had recommended a lawyer to me, and I didn't think much about it. It's like, it's a divorce, right? A lawyer, no big deal.
People make the mistake of thinking that all lawyers are competent, and they all went to law school, they all know the law. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not the case at all.
Yeah, and how many? Some people might get 3 or 4 divorces in their life. Their experience, right? They know what to pick the next time around. But when it's your first one, it's like throwing a dart at a dartboard. And I picked a bad one. So I get involved in this divorce, and I had 3, 4 really, really solid years before the divorce. I mean, making tremendous money, unbelievably well, right? Farther than what I ever thought I'd do. But I start going through the divorce. My general manager retires, and then I know that it's probably not going to go good because I'm not taking over the company.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm struggling at the time, and I'm on burnout from work too. And so we're going through the divorce. Her lawyer is asking me for like $20,000 a month.
Right.
Like, well, we'll settle for $20,000. This divorce drags on for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And every week it's $5,000, $5,000,
Mm-hmm.
$5,000. You're dumping money into this thing, and I get let go January of 2018. Yeah, 2018. I got let go from that job. Call her up. I'm like, hey, game's over. End of the party. They let me go. And I'm like, I don't have a job and I don't have that money. And then they kind of start that thing like, oh, you got fired on purpose. I'm like, trust me, that kind of money, I did not want to get fired.
Mm-hmm.
So now they want to sell the divorce. Her lawyer knows that.
I fucked up.
Check,
I should. Yeah, the checks are going to stop, and
Yeah.
we should have settled 6 months ago.
Exactly. Yeah, like he's thinking to myself, I know I'm not going to get it from her.
Yeah.
And so we start to go through that. We start to go through the settle thing. I get to arbitration, after dragging this out, and I'm going through the arbitration, and we're now they're I've got them down to like $3,000 a month, right? Well, if you're making a couple $100,000 a year, it's like that's chump change. But I lost a job. I was on a non-compete. I couldn't even work in the industry. I was blocked out for a full year. And so the only thing I got was like a sales consulting gig. And that carried me for a year. A guy, I said, yeah, I'll hire you, work and find me some business, bring it in, paid me $100,000 a year. And well, I'm a 1099. I'm self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
I got my travel costs. I got expenses. I don't think about these things. And of course, my lawyer doesn't think about it either. So now I'm going back and forth fighting with him. I got it down to $2,650 a month. And my lawyer's telling me, like, good deal, really good deal. It's like, you go in front of the judge. That judge could give you a life sentence. Like, I think we got them down to like 16 years. They started at like 20 or 25.
And this is for
right?
alimony?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is just alimony. Jake's past 18. I mean, he's done.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're like 20-year marriage. And I'm like, big deal. 20 years of hell.
Right.
And they're telling me it's 20-year marriage. I'm like, you're going to get hammered. And I'd heard stories of other guys who did 20 years, and especially in Wisconsin.
He says did 20 years.
Yeah.
Like it was a prison sentence.
Oh.
I understand. I hear you.
And that's why I said I should have got out at 2.5, know?
No, guys used to would talk about prison with me. They're like, man, bro, how'd you do it? Because, well, I was married to a Puerto Rican woman for 3 years. So I already had some experience.
Yeah, right.
You've been acclimated a little bit.
Yeah. You were ready for some of it. Yeah. And so they're telling me this 20 years, and they're scaring me with a life sentence.
Right.
I honestly, this is like going to jail, right? And what you find out as we go through this story, I mean, it gets worse than jail. It turns into indentured servitude,
right?
And so I'm like losing my crap with the arbitrator and my lawyer, and my lawyer's not fighting anything, right? And I just didn't even find this out till a couple months ago. Totally screwed up the assessment. The minimum wage in Wisconsin is like $7.15 an hour at the time. And to this day, it's still $7.15. Nobody makes $7.15. So 1% of the population makes minimum wage right now. And that's it.
Right.
But they base her earning capacity at $7.15 an hour. And, and then they take the length of the marriage, and there's their multipliers, right? Her earning capacity, all this stuff. And so my lawyer doesn't catch that, doesn't argue that. Then they don't take the asset side of it. So when we split the assets, I pay out over $200,000 in cash. Like I put $180,000 down on a house, right? Then there was, 20, 30,000. Then there's retirement, vehicle. Altogether, I'm like 300,000 in. Well, the idea is, of a limited term maintenance is get people on their feet, right? Give them enough so they can get back on their feet.
Right.
When you get a life sentence on alimony, that is just to keep them, to keep them up.
Right.
But on maintenance, it's like, hey, you're supposed to give them enough so they can get going. So my lawyer never took that into consideration. And here's the other thing about the $7.15 an hour. She was working. She's always working part-time, right?
Right.
And the last 5 years, 10 years, whatever it was, she had her DD's cleaning business, right? She makes $20, $25 an hour cash, an hour. Well, if my light bulb had went off, I would have been like, well, 20, if she's getting 25 an hour cash and she did this full time, she'd be making 50 grand a year, not 15,000.
Right.
So that's going to reassess the numbers. And never caught on it. My lawyer never argued it, never disputed any of it. And it so now I'm going back and forth, and I'm at the 26. I think we were at like 2,700 or whatever. I'm at like 2,500. They're at like 2,800. So, and I end up just going off on the arbitrator because again, I got my lawyer telling me, and the arbitrator like, Mike, I think you're there. I think you're at the bottom with them. They're going to take this to trial. You don't want to go there. And I'm like, buddy, I just paid you $350 for a 2-hour session. You want me out of your office. You're going to tell me anything's a good deal right now to get out of here. I'm losing my cool. And the arbitrator says, look at her. She doesn't even look like she's going to live another 5 years.
You're sure I'm basing my decision on the hope that she's going to pass away in 5 years? Like,
so I look at him, and because I'm kind of shocked he just said this to me, right? Because she's strung out. You know, she shows up, her teeth aren't even in her freaking mouth, for the arbitration, and then I look over at my lawyer, and she's like, "Yeah, she don't look like she'll make it 5 years."
Well, you're both fucking idiots, right?
And I'm like, maybe they're right. And so I end up, I'm like, I'm done. I'm like $2,650 a month. I don't know how I could ever do more than that. I'm leaving. You can take that or leave it. So
what if you don't pay alimony?
What if I don't pay?
Yeah, what if they say, hey, it's $3,000 a month, and you say, go fuck yourself, I'm not going to pay? Can you get thrown in jail?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Yes. We're going to talk about that too.
Can you get thrown in jail in Florida?
Yes.
Really?
Nationally, this can happen to you. I don't
like that at all.
What you're going to find out about maintenance and alimony,
right?
It's one of the, there's child support where you get thrown in jail.
Yeah.
And then there's alimony. And when you don't make a maintenance payment or an alimony payment, you're defying a court order. Mm-hmm. You're now held in contempt of court. I'm actually up against that right now. And October 1st, if I don't pay $12,000 by October 1st, I go to the county jail for 90 days. And if I don't pay up, judge can keep me in there. So they have it like a coercive action it's like to entice you so that you pay up. So I call it debtor's prison, which they banned in 1830.
Yeah, I was going to say it, but you're going to throw me in, if I can't pay it and you throw me in jail for 90 days, how do you expect me to pay it? I was just in jail for 90 days.
And that's the really crazy part about this, that they're using not non-payment as, hey, you're going to go to jail. And you're right. I'm not working. How do we, you know what they told me? We're going to give you work release. I'm like, so I get to go to work, but I come back to jail for not paying.
Right.
Like, I get it with a deadbeat dad, right? But I'm going to tell you, there's situations out there, and not just me, right? And these days, I'm really passionate about this, and I'm starting to work on. I got to get the laws changed because they're out of control.
Let's go back to the 26. Let's go back to I got you off track. 2650. That's it. I'm ready to leave, and you're ready to walk out.
Right. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's go back to that because we agree to this. I go home. Lawyer says, okay, they took the 2650. They're willing to do 16 years. And when I'm doing all the calculations, right, I'm sitting there with a calculator, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to pay her over another $300,000 cash. Mm-hmm. I'm like, cash out of your pocket. I'm like, this is crazy. I've already given up $300,000. I'm going to pay her another $300,000. I'm like, by the time I'm done, I'm going to be $800,000 into this thing, not including what the lawyers cost me. And
she might not make it in a year.
Well, for some guys, and that may have been an option. So we end up doing the agreement. Now we go to show up for divorce court, and I'm sure she discussed this with me in beforehand, but I remember what sticks out in my head is we're talking about it, and they're explaining the agreement, and they do a non-modifiable agreement. So I don't know what non-modifiable. What's a non-modifiable? She's like, you're gonna love it. They can't come after you for more money. Mike, you go back and you get a job and you're making $200,000-$300,000 a year again. She can't come back to you and ask for money. I'm like, man, that sounds really good to me.
If there's a downside to that sound downside to that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And so I'm like, this is great. But then it dawns on me, like, what happens if I can't pay? Mm-hmm. What's going to happen if I can't pay?
Oh, if you can't pay?
No.
Mike.
Oh, no. It's like, oh, don't worry about it.
No, I love this. Everything's don't worry about the negatives.
Yeah.
Where's the negative?
If you can't pay,
it doesn't matter because
there's always a clause.
I'll have been paid and I will no longer be. Yeah. That'll be another lawyer's.
Exactly.
Problem.
Yeah.
But
actually, she would have loved if I came back to her. She would, until she couldn't anymore.
So there's a clause. There's always a clause.
So she says to me, there's always a clause in the state law that says if you can't pay, they have to negotiate with you. I'm like, all right, now I feel really good about this. So I go through with this. I don't think nothing of it. And I'm telling all my buddies, they're like, dude, that's ridiculous. You're paying $2,650 a month. I'm like, yeah, and I got to keep a life insurance policy for $250,000 on me, which is another part of this, right? Mm-hmm. Policy like that's going to run you a couple hundred a month, and so really it's like almost $2,800, and because if I die, she's got to get her money.
Yeah,
So, my buddies are telling me, that's great. And all my buddies think I got that number hit on me because I used to make big money, right? And they're like, that doesn't make sense, even at that number. And, but I live with it. A deal's a deal kind of thing, right? You sign an agreement and it's like, all right, I'll figure it out. I'll get by. All well and good, I never end up really making much more than that, a little less, a little more. COVID hits, I'm working for a Chinese company and they call me up, Mike, it's really bad over here. We got to end your contract. Well, traveling salesman, sales director during COVID.
You're
not a lot of opportunities, right?
Travel, yeah.
Yeah, so, we have a really tough, 4 years, just kind of getting through, making business investments and doing business things. I get in 5 years later, and I'm like, I'm broke. I mean, I've tried a couple different businesses, and I'm busted out now. I mean, I'm tapped. And, but, we're making our payments. We're getting by. And, we're always working on the next thing and, pretty much working a full-time job. And then, we've got we've got some side business. We sell on Etsy. We do some antiquing and vintage stuff. So we make it, right? Now comes the big day for me. This day that this is a day that put me on the soft white underbelly, right? You know, this is the day when my son passes away.
So your son during this whole
Yeah.
time, is he with her or with you?
Yeah. So my son ends up really splitting his time between us, right? He's you know, I think he's 20 by the time the divorce finalizes. He spends most of his time with me, you know, spends a little time with her. She's got a brand new, beautiful house, right? You know, I got a house, we got a room. So he's kind of bouncing in between the two of us for probably the next 4 or 5 years. The last couple of years, he was on his own until he had to go move back to his mother's. You know, he got hit by an uninsured motorist, totaled out his car, couldn't get back and forth to work, lost his job. Then he loses his, you know, the trailer that he's renting. And so he's got to go somewhere. Well, he doesn't want to come live with us. You know, we've got my wife and she's got 2 kids. They're at home and he just doesn't want to burden us with it. Well, his mom's got her and, you know, a 3-bedroom house.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I talk him into it. I'm like, hey, you know, probably going to be the best thing. He's like, man, I don't want to go there. She's got problems, you know. He's got, you know, and he knows he's got problems. And what I don't know is his problems are worse than what I think they are. And, you know, and he talks to me a little bit about it. And I'm like, well, look, man, if you're dabbling in that stuff, the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be the guy who sold your mom a pill or got your mom a pill and she dies. Mm-hmm. I'm like, because if you think life's tough now, try imagine living the rest of your life with that thought, you know. And he, you know, yeah, Dad, you know, I get it, right? So he goes, he moves in January. Well, Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2024. I'd just taken a job with another company, you know, made a nice career move, right? A little bump up, good future, looking bright. I'd just gotten home from a 2-week trip from India. I've been home like 4 days. I think I got home the 11th, it's 14th. I'm making business calls, and he's supposed to come over and work for me that morning and earn a little money. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning. My phone rings, and I see on there McHenry Police Department. And I'm like, I wonder what kind of trouble he got himself into, right? You know, I'm thinking to myself, he's got himself into something. I'm going to have to figure it out. And, you know, like, hey, you know, hello. And it's like, yeah, this is Mike Whaley. I'm like, yeah. And he said, wait, yeah, I mean, it was so blunt, so short. And, you know, it hit me like a hammer when it did it. You know, it's not that, hey, are you with someone? Can you come down here? You know, we look, something's going on.
Can we come
yeah,
by? Send
can
a
we
cruiser
come
by?
Yeah,
Like,
none of that. It's like, we're calling to inform you your son passed away last night. And you get that, what? You know, it's not registering, right? Mm-hmm. But it is registering. What do you mean? He's like, well, you know, Pierce said he overdosed. I'm like, where? Well, he's, you know, at your ex-wife's house, you know, and, you know, address, whatever. I don't even know what to say at this point. Yeah, because it's so heavy. A blow that is so, I mean, it's your worst nightmare. Mm-hmm. You something you never want to dream about. You know, when people tell you, I can't imagine, and like, I'm sure you've had people who've lost children, whatever, and you're like, man, I don't know what I'd do. I don't know how I'd handle that. And however bad you think it is, magnify it by 100. Because you got to think of it this way. If there's something that hurts you so bad that it can make you cry to the rest of the days of your life, whether you live 30, 40, 50 years and you see parents who've gone through that, think about that pain. Mm-hmm. And that's what's hitting you in that moment. I lose it. To break down.
Did they tell you what happened on the phone? They just said he passed away.
Said, and my thing is why, right? And I get well, it looks like it's an overdose.
Okay. And boy, they're brutal, huh? They're That dude needs.
It was brutal at the time, right? Today I'm a year and a half into this, and I think about it, and that pill problem we have in this country that we're all talking about, the other F word.
Yeah.
These guys are hit by it almost daily, right? If someone's not dying, they're overdosing, and they're numb now. And in most cases, there's that perception of, hey, another drug addict died, right? Another drug addict died. And they lose that. And this is a hunch, it's my theory on it, and it's the only way I can kind of justify, getting that message that way. So yeah, it's cold, it's brutal, but on the other side of it, I understand it.
This is the first phone call this guy's made.
Yeah.
Was it a man or a woman?
It was a man.
Yeah. Wasn't the first phone call. He's been making this, he's been doing this a couple times a day for years.
That's my thought.
Yeah.
That's my thought. So I don't blame him.
Right.
Because if I was doing that, I'd probably get cold to it too. Because how else can you deal with that?
You probably have to rotate those guys. You know what I'm saying? You'd like, to me, if I was the police station, I'd be rotating, saying, "Hey, look, you're gonna have to rotate this 3-4 times a year because people get."
Yeah. Well, think about this, right? I mean, there aren't enough guys to rotate for that. We lost 74,000 people to just all last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then from an overdose perspective, I think it was 120,000 last year, and the year before, and basically the year before, and the year before.
And overdose meaning that they end up at a hospital, not that they
dying.
They passed away. Okay,
dying. So we had 70,000 people die from that F word.
Right.
Yeah. Just
it
was 74,000 last year.
Okay, so let's go with Finney, right?
Yeah.
So
with the Finney.
Finney. Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, but you're saying 120 is from what?
From other drugs.
Oh, okay. In combination?
Yeah, in combination with everything else.
Okay.
Right. And I have to assume when I look at those national statistics, when it's 123, 124,000, whatever it was, and they're attributing 75 of it to Finney, I'll bet you it's higher.
Right.
I'll bet you it's even more. If 30,000 of those were, from like the black tar stuff that they do.
Right.
I'll bet you it was mixed in there.
Right.
And that's, that's my hunch on that. So it's a crazy number. There aren't enough cops to rotate through. They just couldn't. And they're not equipped. Nobody got them ready for this either. Right. I mean, you look at most of this happened between 2016 and today. I mean, we're the numbers that I came up with is, and that I've had, if you take America today right now, 18% of America has either had a loved one or a close connection that's lost someone to Finney. Think about it, 18% now. I mean, and that's a compounding interest that we're getting. If you go with projections of what you're looking at, in the next 10 years, and this one should scare you, and it should scare everybody who's watching this. In the next 10 years, that number will reach 50%. 1 out of every 2 people in this country will have lost either a loved one or a very close connection. That's the trend mark that we're on. 10 years. So 1 out of 2 people. So if people think it's someone else's problem today, it's not someone else's problem. It's your problem. Listen, the boogeyman's real, and he's in your front yard right now, and he's coming to take your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the way you need to start thinking about that problem. And I didn't know any of this until it happened to me. And, so I don't mean to get off track on it, but when I start talking about how big the problem is, people don't realize it. I didn't realize it. I didn't, never imagine it was going to be that. So anyways, I go and her daughter's upstairs. Ashley's, in her early 20s. I stumble in her room and, I she can't even really make sense of what I'm trying to babble out of my head, and she figures that out. She calls her mom. Mom comes home from work. They call my brother. My brother comes over, picks us up, and I drive out there. And she lives about 25, 30 minutes from me. Get there, and it all gets blurry, right? Everything's haze, tunnel vision, right? The shock is, you're just kind of trying to figure it out. I go through the door and out on the back porch, his mom's wailing, right? She's wailing away, crying, and I'm just not even sure why I'm there, right? What am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So I walk out to the back, and I see his mom there wailing away, and I don't hate it, people, but I sure don't like her. Mm-hmm. And but in that moment, we just both lost a son, right? So she gets up, she's bawling, and she reached out to give me a hug. I go to give her a hug. She starts telling me, I'm sorry. And it clicked with me. And it just dawned on me, like, instantly. All right, you had something to do with this.
All right.
I just let her go, and I told my wife and my brother, I said, yeah, I think we're done here. We can go. We can get out of here. In the meantime, and I don't think it was that fast, actually. We were there for another, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it was, and, long enough for my brother to hear my ex-wife saying she knows that she knows who sold him the pills. She knows where he got them.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually, my brother hears her say that she drove him to go get the pills. And, now I'm getting confirmation in my head already, right, of what's going on. So we leave, and the next 2 days are blur. I can honestly tell you, I almost don't remember anything from the next 2 days. I just complete shock, and I couldn't put any sequence of events. We start to plan a funeral right away because I'm like, I gotta get back to work.
Mm-hmm.
I just got this job. I just started, so I got to get this done, get it put behind me, and that's kind of my thing. Dig in, distract yourself, stay focused. So we're planning the funeral, but I'm also, I want to know who did it, right? I want to know where he got it. I want this person, right? I want someone to answer for what they did. I'm nailing all of Jake's friends on this, right? I'm hammering. I'm playing super detective, trying to get it. One of his buddies comes like, Mike, you got to back off, man. You got to let people. You got to let the police handle this. You got to let other people do this. He's like, you're just going to muddy the water, right? And so I started backing off. But I get a text from a girl who my son was kind of seeing, and first thing I do is, what'd you have to do with this, right? And I get that, nothing. Well, I get this text message that says, I don't do pills. I don't do, drugs. She's like, I drank a little. And she said, I wasn't with him. And I said, what do you know? And she says, all I know is that, the other day, Jake was with his mom, and he went to go get her pills. And so he went to go get her pills, and I find out that was 2 days before he died. And so, now I got this like confirmation in my head of things, right? And so I've got it. All right. I know she did something. Now I know she drove him. And so I'm kind of at this guessing game. We get to the funeral home. She comes there with, her family and that. I've got CJ, whatever. And I got this message from that girl, and I know in my head there's something going down, that she's got deep involvement. Mm-hmm. So she says to me, she starts making demands about what she wants for the funeral. I look at her and I said, you lost your right to make demands here. I said, you lost your right to tell us how this funeral is going to go when you killed our son. She says to me, you really think I killed our son? I said, absolutely, I think you killed our son. And she said, why would you think I killed our son? And I started reading this text. I said, sounds like Jake went to get you pills. I said, so if he went to get you pills and you did pills with him, you killed him. As far as I'm concerned, you're just as guilty as the dealer. She looks at me and she loses it. Before this, she was like this shuffling, sickly, fragile. But I know her well, right? And I know if I push the right button, I'll see the real person comes out for me. She looks at me and she says, I did one effing pill. I didn't make him take that pill. And then I got the information I needed.
But he went to go get, she drove him to go get pills for her.
Yeah.
Now he took her, or both of them, whatever.
From what I've found out now, what I know for facts now, yeah, for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for both of them. And the 3 weeks before he died, I think it was multiple purchases, right? But here's the other kicker for me. On February 11th, she drove my son out to pick up her maintenance check. I thought, I am wrong on that. So it was February 12th, they pick it up. On February 13th, that check cashes.
Mm-hmm.
On February 14th, my son's dead. My son had no money in his bank account.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have, that's why he was going to come and see me to work.
So she drove him. They drove together to go buy pills that she paid for.
Right.
Because she's the only one who had any money to pay for them.
Right. With my maintenance money that I pay her.
Right.
Because she doesn't work. She doesn't have another job. So I realized that the money that the courts ordered me to pay and make me pay was used to kill my son. That's a deep thought, right? When you look at it, some people say you can't look at it the way. Well, I can't look at it any other way. And if you look at the laws for what drug-induced homicide is, right? If you provide money, if you provide transportation, and you use with that person, someone ends up dead, that all constitutes as a drug-induced homicide. So you're just as guilty as the person who sold the pill.
So I was in prison with I was in prison with multiple guys with this charge in federal prison. There's a guy named Brandon that I want to say, I'm not 100%. I'm close on how much time he got. He was a bouncer at a bar. Even though it's funny, if you met this guy, he's probably 6'4", but he's harmless. You know what I'm saying? He's one of those guys. He's a big guy, but you talk to him, he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" You're just like, "Oh, you're harmless." But he was, he's the front gut bouncer guy. And the girls, the waitresses and everybody likes him. So there was a waitress or a woman that was constantly in the bar, came up to him one day and said, "Hey, do you know anybody?" She wanted some oxys. And he said, "I don't know anybody that has those." And then, but he did know a guy that sold H. He's like, "I don't know anybody with that." He said, "But I do know a guy that sells H." He goes, maybe he can get some or something. Like, I know a guy.
Yeah.
But she was like, "Yeah." She said, "Can you give me his phone number?" He's like, "Sure." Puts her in contact with him. She gets some H. She dies. The police get involved. They see the text messages. They come to Brandon. They grab Brandon. They grab the guy. They charge Brandon. Brandon's like, "Wait a minute. She was sick." She's like, I'm going to be sick here.
So he went away for this.
He got 20. I want to say between 20 and 25 years because he went to trial. Because he was like, "I didn't do it." Like, they offered him less.
Yeah.
But it's like 10 years or something. He's like, 10 years? She said, "I'm sick. I need some oxy. Do you know anybody?" I said, "No, I don't. But I do know a guy that sells this. Maybe he's got some. I don't." He's like, "I didn't make any money.
Right.
I gave her a phone number." He's like, "I didn't mean to." He went to trial. He lost. I want to say it was 20 or 25 years. He's out now because of, I think he got out during COVID. I think he's supposed to still be in jail. Somehow or another, he got out. He still did like 15 years. So I want to say 20, 25 years, but only because he went to trial. Had he taken, had he pled guilty,
he probably would have got about 5
or 10.
Yeah.
I think they were offering him 10.
Yeah. You know, and if he didn't have much of a background.
Oh, he had no background. You know, no background. He's in college. He's working the bar. He's like in his early 20s.
He probably, you know, had a good lawyer. He probably could have got that down to about 5 or 6 and been out in 2.5.
Yeah, but he genuinely felt he hadn't done anything.
Yeah, right.
Well, you did do something, you know? Yeah. And in the eyes of the law, and in the eyes of 12 jurors, you did something. And the judge, you did something. And the prosecutor, you did something. Like, no doubt in my mind, he didn't mean for any of this to happen.
Right.
But you did do something.
But you did it, and it happened, right? And so I look at that, right? So I know this. I know this just right at the funeral now. And so I start talking to the detectives, you know, telling them what I know, you know, where I'm at with this. And the detectives actually do an investigation. And this is going to be a mind-blowing stat for you as well. With drug overdoses, they only investigate between 5 and 15% of the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's 85% of the time these people die, and there's no justice for those families at all.
Right.
You know, and so it's 5 to 15%. So I'm grateful for the attention that police department gave to it and the efforts that they made to make an arrest on the dealer. They worked in conjunction with Kenosha, right? Because they were living in McHenry, but they drove, and this is going to be a whole other subject of, they're living in McHenry, they drove to Kenosha, and that's where they got the pills, and then they came back, which I can't understand why the feds aren't involved in this, and like the U.S. Attorney's Office, because I felt like this should have been turned over to them. You went and picked up a Schedule II substance, crossed state lines with it that resulted in a homicide. So someone died from that. That gets you 20 to life in the feds. Mm-hmm. But that hasn't even come up, and that hasn't even been part of this, even brought up. So I start pressing the state's attorney. I'm like, I know she's involved in this, you know, and
I got some text messages. I've had conversations with her. Why don't you go interview her, look at her phone, look at his phone.
Yeah. So my first meeting with the state's attorney, they tell me, let me look into it. We filed the charges on this guy, and
they did find the guy.
They did find the guy. So they're just now starting his criminal case. So the guy who allegedly sold them.
You mean now or then?
Just now.
Oh, okay.
So he'd been sitting in the Kenosha County Jail on other charges.
Right.
And so now I believe they just extradited him last week, or this week they're doing it. And he's going to now face the drug-induced homicide charges. So 1.5 years in the justice wheel, right? So I start pressing the state's attorneys. I couldn't get a meeting with the state's attorney. So Jake passes in February. They make the charges in May and make an arrest. So they move fast.
Yeah, that was fast.
Yeah, they did a phenomenal job on that side of it. Detectives and the police, super impressed with what they did. The charges going down. I'm trying to get information about this. It's November. I finally get a meeting with state's attorney, and I want to know what they're looking at for the alleged dealer, and I want to know where they stand with my ex-wife. And I get this, well, I'm not that familiar with it. Let me look into it, and I'll get back to you. So I hound these guys for months. I think it's March. They finally agree to give me another meeting. I get the meeting in April, and I'm meeting with the state's attorney, and the state's attorney ends up telling me, yeah, we looked into it. And from, what we know, what I see, he's like, hey, I think we're on the same page. Yeah, she took him to get drugs. She did drugs with him, and she, passed away at the house. And I'm like, yeah. What are you doing? Mm. Well, she's the only one who can identify the guy. And I'm like, so you're not pressing charges? They're like, no, we've decided. I said, I think you need to review that with somebody else and get back to me. And because I'm thinking to myself, you should at least take this to a grand jury, right? Let other people decide. And now we're not going to do that. And
what's funny in this federal system is they would indict her, even though they need her because it gives them more leverage.
That's what,
right? Like she's still going to go to prison.
That's what I said too.
But she don't go for 10 years, she'll go for 5. But
right.
If you testify, if not, you might get 15 or 20.
To me, that made more sense. You know what obviously they're not telling me that, but this is one of those situations I think that they're looking at it and they're going, got a grieving mother, son died, in her care. She got to live with it.
She suffered enough.
Right. She suffered enough. She's got to live with it, right? Not ruin another life, right? Well, that's not justice for me.
Right.
Right. And that's, a whole different thing too, right? When you get into the criminal side, and I've gotten really familiar with all this. I never understood the difference in the systems, criminal, family, and civil, right? Knew nothing about it. Man, I'm getting good. I know a lot about it now. And so I realize I'm not getting any justice in the criminal side. They're not going to pursue this. They're not going to do anything about it. So my next move now is, all right, well, we need to go to family court. Well, I need to go to family court anyways, because 4 months after my son passed away, I lost that good job I got. Mm-hmm. And I don't blame the company. And I said this on Soft White Underbelly. I mean, I couldn't focus. I couldn't deliver what they needed. And I wasn't meeting par. And they let me go. So now my son's gone. It's like July 16th, I get let go from that job. I got no income coming in. I'm already broke.
Right.
I make one more payment, I think, in August. I call up my ex-wife, and I'm like, hey, bad news. I'm done paying, right? I don't have it.
Right.
I'm like, I've burned through all my retirement. I've burned through everything I've had in the last, 6.5 years, whatever it was, trying to maintain this. I'm empty. And I don't get any response. Missed the date on September 15th, and I get a call from her. Where's my fucking money? Where's my money? I'm like, hey, I left you a message weeks ago. I'm like, I don't have it. I'm broke. She tells me, you're going to jail. You're going to jail. You sell your house, you sell your car, you do whatever. You tell that wife of yours that, pay me. I'm like, if anyone needs to be in jail right now, you're probably the wrong person to be saying someone else needs to be in jail. And I said, well, I guess I'll see you in the court. So I'm like, this is gonna be a mess, right? And I know I'm not gonna pay anytime soon. So I actually file in family court, say, hey, I can't pay. Mm-hmm. This is where I learned about non-modifiable agreements.
Right.
This is where like my whole world gets really crazy, and I get this education about. Remember, like, well, you can always get it lowered.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a statute there, Mike. And so I bring it to court, and I can't pay. Now, keep in mind here, I can't pay her, and I end up not paying her for like 4 months. But part of the reason I couldn't pay her, I paid $8,000 for a funeral.
Right.
I paid $8,000, and I had to go borrow money to put a deposit down on your son's funeral. You know how low you feel in a situation like that? Like you can't even afford to bury your child, mm-hmm. that you got to go ask money from someone. I mean, that was almost another, like, that was as low in my life almost as a point when I met his mother. So I shouldn't take digs like that, but I'm gonna. But that was like a rock bottom. But and I think we raised almost like $2,000 from family and friends and donations too. But it still stuck me with $6,000. Mm-hmm. So go to court, and I come to the court and said, look, I can't pay. I'm in this agreement, this, that, whatever. And I'm like, And by the way, the money that I'm giving her was used to help kill my son. She's like, I need a lawyer. And so the judge gave her time to go get a lawyer. They got a lawyer. We come back to court, and I think it was November. And that first one was November. We come back in January. January this year, 2025. It actually was November. And we come back in November, and she's got a lawyer now. And I'm like 12,000 behind, and basically 6,000 of that is from the funeral. And I started doing everything I can to learn about family court, family law, because I can't go out and pay 10 grand for a lawyer. Mm-hmm. I don't have the money to get it. And I'm thinking, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's pretty cut and dry. I mean, I'm broke. Right. I got nothing. So I don't think it's going to be a big deal for me. We get to court, and I'm prepping. I'm like filing motions. I'm like trying to get discovery on her bank records. I want to build this big case, right? Buddy, I think I'm a boxer who's had a losing record, who just got a shot at a title fight, right? Right. And I'm getting ready like I can win. We go to court. That day. I was in and out of there in 5 minutes. Her lawyer shut me down so fast. It was like, if it was a championship bout, I got knocked out in the first round, in the first second on the first punch, and woke up in the hospital and said, what happened?
So what did he say? What happened? Why?
It went real quick. Your Honor, he signed a non-modifiable agreement. He stopped. He cannot lower his maintenance. He has to pay. You can't modify the agreement. It's Nichols versus Nichols. Patricus versus Patricus. There's 4 cases in Wisconsin that they hang their hat on for maintenance, and mostly non-modifiable agreements. Something I'm going to tell you too about non-modifiable agreement. 10% of all divorce cases end up in an alimony or maintenance situation. 1% have a non-modifiable agreement.
Okay.
That thing probably got in my divorce agreement as like a red herring, and was like supposed to be negotiated away in the very first effort. Like if you knew this as a lawyer, right, you'd be like, we're not doing that.
I'm not going to let my client sign that.
I mean, he's not worth $30 million, and he's going to make $30 million next year, or $60 million. I mean, it's an agreement that rich people typically have, right? So very few people get caught in this trap that I got trapped in. And judge like,
it's case law. It's over.
Case law. It's over. I mean, instantly. I mean, it's literally less than 5. I come in there. I got boxes. I got bank statements and tax records. I'm ready to prove I'm broke.
Right.
And but no, I was in and out of there. And they said, well, then I can file a de novo review. Right. The commissioner sets that one for you and makes a decision on it. De novo review, you go in front of a judge. At least in the family court on this one. So I instantly filed de novo. And so I go in and I file for it, and I've got like maybe a month or two. Yeah, so January, I think we come up again, whatever it was. We come up to the de novo review. Same thing, man. I'm working at night. I'm up learning law. I'm learning about all this stuff as much as I can.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above, that's where Ghost Bed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, Ghost Bed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners will get 10% off for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox at the checkout. That's ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox for 10% off site-wide.
and in the meantime, I got some buddies like, Mike, you got to call a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
You got to call a lawyer. Talked to 3 lawyers. They're like, buddy, you got a non-modifiable agreement. Like, I'd love to take your money. I'm going to probably charge you $10,000, but I'm not going to be able to overturn this.
Right.
And I'm looking for every angle I can to fight this. We get into court, and I start, we do the back and forth. This judge gave me time to talk. First one, I bet I didn't get 10 words out.
Right.
Right. And maybe I did. Maybe I got 20. But this judge lets me make my argument, lets me make my case, and I even get to present that and said, look, she did drugs with my son and he died. And if I get bank records, I probably prove it's the same money that I paid. Mm-hmm. And judge said, she hasn't been charged with any crimes.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, she hasn't been charged with any crimes because she's a witness. She's the protected witness here. And the judge says, I've been doing this like 25 years. He said, that's probably true. But there are no charges against her. And even if she had been charged the way maintenance and non-modifiable agreements, that wouldn't have any weight either. It's still Nichols versus Nichols. If you meet the 4 pillars of when you sign into that agreement, it's like, is it equitable? Did you knowingly agree to this? And I forget what the other 2 are, but there's 4 things they say. If you did all 4 of those things, you're done. You're done for life. You literally give up all your rights to challenge it in court. There's you know how they say there's 2 things in life that you can't escape, death and taxes?
Right.
There's 3.
All right.
There's death, there's taxes, and there's a non-modifiable agreement. That's the 3rd thing that you can't get away from. Cannot get out of it. I go through this and I can see the judge is about ready to rule in favor, and she starts, citing the case law, and I interrupt. I said, Your Honor, I need to interrupt you. Before you rule against me, which I know you're about to, I need you to realize that when you rule against me, you are sentencing to pay someone who was either directly or indirectly involved with the death of my son, and I'm going to pay this person every month for the next 8 years. So when you rule against me, I want you to understand what you're sentencing me to. I'm going to be paying my son's killer. That judge looked over at me, calm as can be, said, Mr. Whaley, I'm not doing anything to you. You did it to yourself when you signed that agreement.
Right. You had a bad lawyer.
I had a bad lawyer. I come to find out that lawyer's been suspended. Mm-hmm. Suspended, disbarred, and when I look it up, it says suspended. I didn't realize how bad she was until that moment, right? I knew it was bad with how much I was paying. I knew it was bad with the length. I knew it was bad with how much I gave up. But in that moment, I really knew how bad it was. And we went to a wedding in October. A childhood friend of mine was getting married. And I get seated at the table with some couples I know and some couples I don't know. Turns out the couple next to us was someone who worked for that lawyer. And we got involved in the conversation talking about my whole case, my son. And she said, yeah, Mike, you got a really, really bad deal. And I'm like, why do you say that? And she said, she's a raging alcoholic. She's like, she got to a point she couldn't function. She couldn't perform. She's like, we left because she couldn't clean up.
Right.
Even with that, right, you'd think I'd be able to go in and say, like, didn't have good representation and all that. It's not going to carry much weight. I think from what I've read on it, I might have about a 30% chance if I could prove that she was incompetent. And I love numbers and stats. And I looked into this. I'm like, how bad luck do I really have, right? 1% of all lawyers at some point in their career will be suspended or disbarred. I am an elite 1%er, Matt. Mm-hmm. I'm a 1% who got a non-modifiable. I'm a 1% who hired, who hired a bad lawyer that got suspended or disbarred. And I'm a 1%er who loses his child to a drug overdose like Fenny.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about a bad run, I sometimes I feel like I'm a poster child for love and bad luck.
Well, what happens? What happens now? Like, when are you supposed to pay?
Yeah. So what happens now? So as soon as they rule against me, her lawyer files a contempt of court motion against me. And they're trying to get me to pay her lawyer bills too for all this, right? And so they file a contempt of court motion with me, and I tried to negotiate with them. I'm like, you know what? Fine, I owe $12,000. I said, how about you credit me $4,000 for the funeral? I'm like, realistically, you should give me the whole $8,000.
Right.
Because it wasn't my fault. And they're like, no, can't do that. I'm like, listen, man, you got to take, he's like, Mike, that's a separate issue. Your $12,000 has nothing to do with that. The $12,000 you owe, I'm like, it has everything to do with it. And so they find me in contempt of court. And I have till October 1st to pay that $12,000. If I don't pay that $12,000 by October 1st, I get 90 days in the county jail. Think about it like everything I've told you right now.
Right.
I'm fighting for justice. And I'm trying like hell to get justice out there from a state's attorney. I come to the family court thinking I might get some. I'm coming to the family court and I'm thinking I might get some. But instead I get slapped down. And now you're taking the victim, and the victim is now the criminal, and the criminal is now the victim because I didn't pay her. So if anyone's going to go to jail over this whole thing, it's going to be me October 1st.
What about filing a civil wrongful death suit against her?
Yeah. Brilliant idea.
Thank you.
Brilliant idea. Great minds think alike here.
Okay. Okay.
Or either that or we're both simpletons here.
You're making me feel like something. There's a.
Oh, this is good because I told you I had to learn about criminal,
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn about family, and I had to learn about civil. Now what we're talking about is civil.
Okay.
So it meets all the grounds, parameters, right? You got negligence. It's all there. The criteria is there for a wrongful death suit.
Okay.
I start calling lawyers. I got past 10, I started losing count.
Right. Nobody
would take a case. And I'm like, what is going on? Why won't these guys? I'm like, it's all here. I'm like, I can get you witnesses. I can get you statements. We'll get the documents. It's all going to come out. But they keep telling me no. So I got another friend who's a paralegal. She said, Mike, call my boss. And I call. He's like, no, Mike. You need to talk to this guy. He's going to explain it to you. So they gave me a name to a lawyer, this guy in Libertyville. Call him up. Super great guy to talk to me. Anytime a lawyer talks to you for free, that's a good day. So he said, Mike, they told me about it. I've looked at it. And here's the deal. No one's going to touch your case. And I'm like, but why?
Right.
There's no money in it, Mike.
Yeah.
If there's not profit in your pain, you're not going to get justice. And that's pretty much the way the system works, at least the way it's worked for me. So what it is, there's no corporation, right? There's no malpractice suit. You're going to chase someone, an individual, who probably isn't going to pay, even if you get a big judgment and say, let's say, I hit her for $500,000, $5 million, right? And they get it and they win the judgment, which is slam dunk. They're going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Going to file bankruptcy. She's going to file bankruptcy. That money and that settlement is going to get tied up for the next 3 to 5 years. And so they're not going to wait for their money. They're not going to take it. So I couldn't get Annie to take it. I literally had another call
last week. Does she own
her
house?
She does. And that's why I told him. I said, hey, that house, I bought that house. It's free and clear. But even if they do, she files bankruptcy on that because it goes into the settlement. The lawyers don't want to wait for it. So guess what? Mike figures out how to file a wrongful death suit. And when I talked to this law professor, I said, what if I file it?
Yeah, you could do it pro se.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest that in a minute.
Yeah, and that's what I did. So I did a pro se. He said, Mike, they're just going to get it dismissed on you. I'm like, maybe they will, but I need to do something. I can't lay down. I'm not getting justice anywhere. I got to do it. You know, I got to do this for myself. I got to fight to get, the full circle here. I can't keep paying my son's killer.
How are they going to get it? Why is he saying they're going to get it thrown out?
Because I'm pro se.
So what?
Matt,
Fuck does that? What does that?
I'm not that bright.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
but somehow they're going to find a way to get it dismissed, right?
oh, so it doesn't matter. I'll drag it out. I'll cost you $100,000. I'll make you fucking miserable. I'll make you wish. I'll make you take a settlement of where I'll pay you $1,000 on what I owe you, or I'll just drive you into the fucking ground. Like you know what I'm saying? Because if I can file the shit myself, fuck you at ChatGPT. Pay $20 a month and ChatGPT do it. Matter of fact, I give you the phone number to my buddy, or plug for Chad Marks.
Yeah.
Chad Marks will probably take this for virtually nothing, and or certainly nothing, not what a lawyer charges. And I'm telling you right now, fuck if Zach could keep himself out of prison, any of these guys would fucking tie this chick up, and then her lawyers. The whole thing is like when the lawyers are like, yeah, I'll take your case, it's $5,000.
Yeah.
Eventually she's like, I don't have it. And then they're like, oh, well, I'm sorry. You guys, well, you're both pro se. Obviously she's not mentally capable of handling this. Then it's going to be like, you're going to get that panicked phone call. Okay, look, well, here, you can only I'll have you pay me $5,000. Now go fuck yourself. I'll give you $500.
You're going to love this one. I file.
And I want to modify that motherfucking thing too, by the way. I'll give you $500 a month. Fuck you.
You and I are looking at this, and you've basically expressed everything I went through and every feeling that I had. I filed the wrongful death on my own.
What happened?
So I start this, and she misses the first court date.
I love it.
I know, right? I'm going to get a default judgment.
Yeah.
Right? 2 weeks later, I get an email. From a major Chicago law firm, and they said, Mr. Whaley, we need to introduce ourselves. We've been hired by Allstate to represent your wife.
How has Allstate?
She filed a claim on her homeowner's insurance.
For what? For a wrongful death?
Because I sued her for wrongful death.
How is Allstate, how's homeowner's insurance protecting her?
There was an accidental death in her home.
Accidental death. Okay. I mean,
right? She's not proven guilty. She hasn't lost anything. This is my only understanding of that. In most cases, I'd have to be really careful about saying this, but I actually have the email that says, I'm a lawyer. I was hired by Allstate, right? Because most of the time you'd be like, bring that up and, you're going to get sued. Well, I got the email, buddy. I got the email Allstate. I reached out to Allstate.
I was going to say, if that's the case, then it's also your son.
Yeah.
This isn't like she's got full custody of a 15-year-old. This is someone who died in her house. If they're admitting to, it's still your son. I would think you're still a part of that. You could.
There's some tricky stuff in here.
Can you join that lawsuit?
Yeah. There's some tricky stuff on that, and I mean, it kind of gets deep, and it gets deep into executor of estate and this and that. I'm learning because we're in this right now. Mm-hmm. We're in this. A couple of weeks ago, they filed for a motion to dismiss, and I just recently had to file my brief and my response. I'm going to have a decision July 23rd on whether this case will move to discovery or it will be dismissed. I don't think it looks good for me.
Okay. Well, so here's the thing. Have you recontacted any of these attorneys that said no the first time?
Yep.
Because now there's deep pockets involved.
Yeah, and I even did a second round. As soon as they got involved,
right.
I sent out like 10 new ones, right? And I had one that talked to me last week. And he
What'd
came
he
back.
say? Not good.
Yeah,
It's
not good. Yeah, and he said, "Can't touch it." You know, so I'm gonna get bounced. I'm gonna get bounced on that. So like, if you want to hate big insurance, because like I started saying, I called Allstate and said, I need you to explain to me why you're going to represent this person and how. I never got a response. I reached out to a VP and sent a direct message, and never got a response on that.
They're not
So
gonna respond.
I don't understand completely why and how, right? But that's where I'm at. So we go through this whole story that we've been through today. I've been through all three sides of the court system, right? And I've been I just haven't gotten anywhere.
Right.
Haven't got the justice anywhere. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose it. And if I wasn't going to lose, I'm sure that attorney will use this interview later to,
Well, here's the other thing I'm thinking
prejudice
about.
things.
So, if they put a warrant out, because like if I was you, I'm not turning myself in for 90 days of jail. Fuck them. I'd go forever until they till they pull me over, catch me. I'll drive somebody else's car. Colby will buy me a car. I'll drive in his car, and they'll with that tag. I don't get pulled over.
Yeah,
I'm a clean cut white guy that follows the rules of the road. So, but I'm wondering if there is a warrant, do they file extraditable? I'm sure I'm saying this wrong. Extradition or extraditable? Let's say extradition.
Yeah.
Do they file it? Are those warrants extradition warrants? Do you know what that means?
Yeah, I do.
So if you change states.
Yeah, and I live in Illinois. And this is funny.
Oh, you live in another state?
Yeah, so get this. This is even funnier. Well, I guess nothing about this is funny.
Oh, you have to laugh or you'd be walking around crying all the fucking time.
Right.
Right.
Or breaking tables, right?
Yeah.
She moved to Illinois like 4 or 5 years ago, and she sold the house that I bought her, and then bought another house, and so it's all paid off. And then I moved to Illinois 2.5 years ago. We both live in Illinois, but Wisconsin retains control. Wisconsin retains control of this case, and so whatever ruling that Wisconsin makes, and Illinois upholds any agreement that you have. So from an extradition standpoint, I think they do cooperate, but I couldn't say for sure. But they'll suspend your license and they'll garnish your wages. So they'll come looking for that money.
Yeah, but if you're not in that state, you know what I'm saying? Like to me, if you move to Florida and Florida says, yeah, we're not fucking extraditing anybody on this fucking bullshit warden, then I'll just move to Florida. It's hot as fuck here, but still, it's a great state. We got a great governor. We got some great things going for us.
Yeah,
there's some bad things.
Florida is one of the 5 states that have actually done some work on modifying maintenance awards.
So the other thing is, have you considered? So this guy that's about to go to trial.
Yeah.
Have you considered contacting his attorney?
I'm thinking about it.
You know why, Colby?
I'm gonna assume because he wants to help get his guy off. And
No, he doesn't want him off. Fuck that guy. He doesn't want him off. I don't think.
Yeah.
But what you could do, you contact that attorney. You end up on a witness list. Guess what the prosecution now wants? Why are you on the witness list? Well, I'm going to explain that she bought the fucking drugs. She this, she that, she this. That's going to muddy the waters in his criminal case. And maybe they think about charging the wife. Do you see what I'm saying? Maybe they go, okay, maybe you're not interfering. I'm just making him aware that there's an alternate theory to what happened. I'm not saying this guy's not a scumbag. Like the drug dealer's a scumbag, but she's a scumbag too. And the truth, it needs to be taken into consideration. I'm just trying to find justice. So the point is that I think that the prosecution probably comes in and maybe they say, fuck it, we're going to charge her too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like let's do the right thing here. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that that she shouldn't get preferential treatment for testifying against the drug dealer, but she needs to be charged too. I'm not saying she needs to do 10 years.
Right.
So maybe she should do 10 years if she was prosecuted on her own, but if she's going to testify against the drug dealer and having been charged, maybe we give her a lesser sentence. Not that you that you promise her that.
Right.
But take it into consideration. No promises. You do the right thing, we'll take it into consideration later.
Yeah.
That's how the feds do it.
Right. And you would think it would go that route. And, and this is my thing about it. I want accountability.
Right.
I want you to step up and own what you did. Own your part in it, right? And I'm shocked that hasn't happened, right? And I'm not alone here. I've gotten other stories where I've heard these kind of things happening, and so I'm not the first guy this happened to, and I'm definitely not going to be the last. And we need to change alimony laws. We need to change maintenance laws. I mean, these things were made 50 years ago, at least in the state of Wisconsin. Last time they updated it was 1979. Working conditions were a whole lot different for women in 1979. When you look at the difference of pay, how many women were staying home, it's not even on the same level that it was. But we're still operating under those rules and guidelines. And the worst part about it is judges have discretion. And they can decide it's like going to trial, right? In the case, like you're taking that chance, like they were telling me when I was going through mediation, like you really don't want to stand in front of the judge. Judge having a bad day, you're going to zap you for 40% of your pay. You're going to be paying $3,400 a month, and so they start to scare you that way. You need a predictable outcome when you need a form that says, hey, you were married this long, income is this. And you're going to pay this long. And then you got to have sunsetting clauses because there's guys who are getting hit for lifetime. You get to be 65, 70 years old. Your income's going to drop. Your earning ability goes down. That's common sense.
Well, what's funny is you're saying it's maintenance pay, but she's not. Maintenance pay, in my opinion, means that she's trying to educate herself, get a better job, get to where she's at the level she should be. And then we fade that off. She's not working at all.
No, it's a lottery ticket, right? And the judge told me, she said, there's no laws about how she has to spend that money.
Right.
And I get that. But you got to build systems into place to say, hey, there should be some parameters you got to hit, some benchmarks like, hey, you're 5 years in. What have you done? You're 10 years in. What have you done, right? And there's nothing. There's no guardrails at all in the maintenance laws. I'm 54.
54.
Yeah.
And the job that you do, is it a physical job or is it something that you do over the phone?
I do sales, so I do a lot of business development.
I don't know what that means. Is that Zoom?
So
do you have to go shake someone's hand, or can you do most?
I got to go shake people down
Zoom?
for work, right? So I've got to go find new sales for companies.
Okay, so can you do this via Zoom and phone calls? I
can.
Now, you'd make less money. Could you make $2,000 a month doing it via Zoom?
Oh, I can do anything and make $2,000 a month. I can figure that out, right? I can go to McDonald's and make $2,000 a month. Right?
So
I can do better.
Thailand is amazing. My buddy is in Thailand right now, and if you no, that's not true. Boziak is no longer in Thailand. He's in Cambodia because Thailand said that he needs to leave for a little bit.
Yeah.
But you can basically go to Thailand if you can prove to them that you have a certain amount. It's nothing. It's like 10,000. If you have 10,000 in the bank, and you can show them that you make $2,000 a month, then they give you like every year you re-up a visa that costs all of $75 or something. So in Thailand, when he was in Thailand, he lived on the 30th floor of a brand new building. He was the first person to move in the building. He was spending $700 a month or $680, roughly $700 a month. And this fucking place was amazing. And I see your wife's face.
Yeah.
But I promise it's nice. And you're about my height. We're giants over there.
Oh, I know.
We're like 6 foot tall. You're pushing people. I'm pushing people around on the street in Thailand. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I used to travel to Asia for work.
I'm telling you. And Boziak lived in Bangkok, in the middle of Bangkok. He's eating out every meal for $2.
Yeah.
Every meal for $2. And it's good food. Yeah. It's all like, I'm just saying.
I hear you, but
I
you
don't
know
know
what?
if $26
I love my wife, and I love her kids, and I love my friends.
How old are the kids?
Youngest is gonna be he's 17. He'll be 18.
What are you talking about? I love him from a distance. He could come. He could come.
I love
check
her.
it out.
I love her parents too.
Listen, that's great.
But-
that's what Zoom's for.
Yeah.
That's what Zoom's for. We'll love them
Yeah,
from a distance.
from a
It's going to make
distance,
your
right.
love grow fonder.
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Really,
when-
he's doing it for you.
Really. I wish everything I do is for her.
She would love it there.
Oh, I can't.
And what
I
does she
believe
do?
that.
What
But
does she do?
she does home health, so she takes care of elderly people. She goes into, helps them with all their living day to day once they're
We're gonna have to
beyond
figure
it.
out how to do that via Zoom.
Yeah, that one's gonna be tough.
Yeah, but
That's
you
gonna be
can
tough.
make almost nothing there, and so you can like a fraction goes a long way.
Yeah, unfortunately, over there they actually take care of their parents and grandparents themselves too. Right? Her
The
over there.
family values.
Yeah,
Yeah. Still something to think about.
yeah. It's
There you go.
yeah. There's really no good escape, and I talking to this guy out in Massachusetts. He's an advocate who actually was able to get the laws changed in Massachusetts for maintenance laws. I got to tell you this story about this guy. So Stephen Hitman gets divorced, and I think it was 2002. He owns a printing business. He gets hit with maintenance. Long-term marriage, I think 25 years, something when he gets divorced. He gets hit with $39,000 a year that he's got to pay. Steve does the best he can to make payments. He gets along. His printing business starts to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve starts taking on debt to keep his business afloat and to keep paying his ex-wife. He does this until he can't any longer. He files bankruptcy in 2008. Steve goes through bankruptcy, and then again struggles to make these payments, pays everything that he can, and then by 2014 he's filing bankruptcy a second time. Now he's in front of the court, and he's behind on maintenance, and they want their money. They throw him in jail. I think he's around 65 at this time, and so they throw him in jail. They keep him in there for almost 2 weeks. They brought in teams of accountants to go through his books and to verify that he absolutely had no money left. They finally let him off the hook because he had nothing. He was homeless. He didn't have, he didn't have a house anymore. He may have had a car, but he'd lost everything trying to maintain this. So Steve went that far with it and ended up doing time in jail at that age, right? He's got nothing left trying to maintain this. He got involved, and he was actually worked to got the state to change their maintenance laws there and end like lifetime maintenance or have clauses that affect it once they get to retirement age. Now, Steve's story it's a very happy ending and a very sad ending.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's a happy ending, but yeah, I don't know that there's. I mean, yeah, I understand you got it changed, but still,
I'm not gonna.
You've been drained of every single thing, and you've gone through hell.
Right. And you can decide. You decide whether you want this to be the happy ending or the sad ending. Mm-hmm. So at some point, Steve's wife was a smoker.
When you said happy ending, my first thought was she passes away. But that's not quite. I thought, don't say it. Don't say it out loud. It's one of those many, many times that something comes to my head.
Unfortunately, Steve's wife needed a cigarette so bad when she was on the oxygen machine, she lit one and blew herself up.
Wow. Did that kill her, though? It didn't kill her.
It killed her.
Did he? It
killed her. It killed her. So very sad and tragic.
It is tragic.
It's very happy. I'm very happy for Stephen that he was able to figure out how to change the maintenance laws. I'm working with Stephen now, and I just set up a WisconsinMaintenanceReform.org because I have come to the conclusion there is no way out of this non-modifiable agreement for me. Mm-hmm. The only way I'm going to get it done is I got to change the laws. I have to get to change the laws, and I got to get changed for me. But we got we got to change these rules, and we got to do these things that I'm talking about. You got to have predictability. You got to know what you're going to get. Like sentencing guidelines that are structured, and you got to make it more fair. 98% of payers for maintenance or alimony are men.
Mm-hmm.
Only 2% are women, and bad things have happened to women who've had to pay. I heard another story of a woman in California who actually impacted change for maintenance reform. A woman was beaten up and by her ex-husband. He did time. Judges ordered her to pay $1,000 a month maintenance to him. That created enough of a storm. California rewrote some of their laws, and they changed that, and so she doesn't have to pay that. I don't believe, and I gotta believe that most of your viewers on this would think that it's wrong that I've got to write this check to someone who was that involved in my son's death, and the only way.
I think even if you remove that, let's remove that from the equation. The fact is that you were not in the same position you were in when you signed that agreement.
Agreed. Yeah.
You were given false information saying that, you would be able to modify it if anything went wrong.
Yeah.
And on top of that, in general, for a money crime, it's not even a crime, but whatever. In general, for money, I don't think you should have to go to prison. At all. Like it doesn't make sense to me. I've always heard of there can be no debtor's prison, right?
No, exactly.
And
they
so it doesn't
abolished that 1830.
Right. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
That I owe someone money, put it on my credit.
Yeah.
Try and garnish my wages, maybe.
Yeah.
But you could. There's lots of things you can do. Get a judgment against me, place it on any titled property, but to say, hey, no, now we're going to throw you in prison. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Like that's a very personal, physical thing that you're doing to me.
You're not supposed to be able to throw people in jail for their inability to pay.
Yeah, that makes me wish that your ex-wife was a smoker, to be honest, and was on oxygen. But,
she is.
Not on oxygen. I would suggest oxygen. Are you? Can you take a deep breath? No.
Yeah.
But that's upsetting. Like that's some bullshit.
I'm going to tell you another one that just happened. This happened in McHenry County, where I have my wrongful death case. Guy in 2017, I think his last name was Dennehy, 2017. Great job, great position, making $350,000 a year. He gets divorced in Illinois. He gets hit with $12,000 in maintenance and $7,000 a month in child support. So $19,000.
What the fuck? Like after taxes? How am I supposed to what am I going to do?
Well, he makes $350,000, right? Still, now you got taxes, right? What do you got for it, right? The bigger question I get is, why is the wife worth more than the two children here?
Right. First of all, why? And his lawyer had him sign it.
Yeah. So he got a deal done with his lawyer, and he went through this contentious divorce, and over the 2 years after the divorce, and he's making the money, and he's got a great paying job, right? She brings him into court 260 times over a 2-year period. His company had to hire a lawyer and put it on staff, and eventually they said enough, right? And it was a family type business too, but they finally said we're done, so they let him go. Well, $20,000 a month. It doesn't take you long to get in the hole, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say if you had enough savings, you got through the first year, whatever, you maintain. What percentage of the population make $350,000 a year?
Yeah, less than 0.5%.
Yeah, it's somewhere around that, right? So the expectation, like this guy can just go out and get another $350,000 a year job and change things, ain't gonna happen. Mm-mm. I mean, it's fictitious. So he gets thrown in jail. He gets $125,000 behind. They throw him in jail. And you don't get out unless you hit the purge, right? You got to pay up that full amount and they'll let you go.
The fuck do you pay the full amount? He doesn't have a job. He's not making any money. Your janitorial job in fucking prison's paying you $12 an hour. I mean, what's... Yeah.
So he knows. And no one's coming to the rescue, to bail him out with $125,000, knowing he's going to get hit with another $20,000 next month.
Right.
This poor gentleman committed suicide in jail.
Well, there's something wrong with his wife too.
Absolutely.
Or ex-wife.
Yeah.
Ex-wife.
And I don't know this for sure. I was reading on this one, and there's a wrongful death suit filed against the jail on this. And I think that death suit was like 2021, 2022. His name was Thomas Doheny, so people can kind of look that up. I think his ex-wife filed the wrongful death suit. Like,
that's balls, right?
They killed her. I guess they killed her money cow, right?
Yeah,
her cash cow.
Yeah, but she's it's funny because a lot of I guess maybe I'm not going to say it's all women. Let's say scorned spouses. Am I saying that right? Yeah, scorned spouses. A lot of scorned spouses.
There are, right?
Will cut their noses off to spite their face. It's like, you dragged me into court 200 fucking times and got me fired from my job when I was paying you. Like, what were you? But a lot of them, like, they just want to ruin your life.
Yeah. And that's
the goal.
Yeah.
And she got lucky. I mean, she ended up ruining her life. I mean, ruining his life, and he took his own life. And and these are tragedies, right? And that's why we need reform on this stuff. I mean, because you can go on and on and on with these kind of cases. So you started, is it an organization?
Yeah, an organization, Wisconsin Maintenance Reform.org. I just filed all the paperwork with the IRS and the state of Illinois because I got to get this going.
Right.
And I need support from people. I've got the website, WisconsinMaintenanceReform.org, and on there's a link to a change.org petition that we have.
Mm-hmm.
I need people to get signatures on that. If you think everything I've talked about today is wrong, all you got to do is click and sign. I mean, I'll do the rest of the work. We'll figure this out, and we'll start to change laws. And if we can change laws in Wisconsin, we can change laws in Illinois.
And the goal is to get people to sign the petition so that you can go in front of the.
So now I can start getting the politicians to listen to me, because this is this kind of issue, politicians won't pick it up, right?
Right.
You're a small percentage of the population. They don't want to upset women voters. They try to avoid changing these kind of alimony, maintenance law, family laws. They just absolutely don't want to take it out. What's the win? Am I going to give them $400,000 campaign donation? Right? Is there going to be something good in it for them? Usually not. So the only way to do it is people got to get angry and say enough. And you got to quit taking advantage of people. And you got to quit putting people in this kind of situation, like the situation that I'm in, and other people. And that's the idea here. If I can get enough momentum behind it, maybe we start a movement. Maybe I can make a change. Maybe I can save someone from going to jail. Maybe I can save someone from, bankruptcy, insolvency. And, I've got two missions. One is the maintenance reform, and the other one is about the FENI awareness. Mm-hmm. And you and I can sit here and talk on another time. I can give you 3 hours of FENI awareness and things that we need to do. But I got to get past this first fight so I can get to the second fight where I really want to be. But my hands are tied right now in this one, and I need to get justice for my son, and we need to make changes in the laws, and maybe at that point I can really focus on the FENI awareness, because I've got a lot to say. I got a lot of ideas, and I really want to be able to help people there too. But man, I'm one man, and I work 2 jobs, and I'm doing this, and I'm fighting to change things.
Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, please go into the description box and click on the link. We're going to put the link to Mike's, to his website, so you can go and sign the petition. It is, the link's in there. You can click on it and go there, but it is Wisconsin
Maintenance Reform.
Maintenancereform.org. You go on there, click on there, sign the link. I really appreciate it if you guys would help him out and do that. And thank you very much for watching it. Please consider joining our Patreon. It's $10 a month, and it really does help Colby and I make these videos. See ya.